So why stay connected when you travel? Well, we certainly have a lot of changing attitudes now. Our little cell phone, our smartphone, is becoming more and more an essential part of life. Security, when you travel, your smartphone is going to tell you where you are, and it's going to allow you to get help. It's also an information highway. You're going to, when you travel to different parts of the world, you need to book airline tickets, you need to get hotel reservations, find out where to eat, and again, it's going to help you stay connected. Financial investments. On a cruise ship for a month, you're away from your financial investments. Most people need to stay connected as well to look after their financial investments. Healthcare. I'm actually a retired physician. Back in the 80s, some of the companies I was involved with developed systems that are in place today that allow healthcare providers to talk to patients and patients to talk to diagnostic facilities and laboratories. So I'm so pleased to see this is a huge area of staying connected, particularly if you're a senior. Social, well, of course, we have social media, and of course, excuse me, the dreaded Facebook addiction. So for all these reasons, we want to stay connected. Now, what are the challenges of staying connected? Well, as we travel to different parts of the world, is it secure? Can we use our cell phones? Is this safe? What is the cost of this? As you probably are aware, you can take your cell phone with you no matter where you go in the world, and you can turn it on and it will connect and you can make phone calls. The problem is the cost of that. We're going to talk about that. The complexity. Some of the systems are different in different countries. Language barriers. If you try to buy a SIM card in France, you'll find that everything is in French and you'll have a hard time reading it. And of course, the technology problems. Sometimes this just doesn't go as easy as it seems. So we're going to talk about some of this and some of the ways that you can I can help you with this. I want to talk a bit about the basics of cell phone technology first before we move on into the presentation. And you'll find that there actually are 4 signals your cell phone gives off. The first signal is your cell signal. This is a signal that probably goes 3 or 4 miles. It connects your phone right to the cell tower. This is a digital encrypted signal and very secure. The second thing that your phone has is a Wi-Fi connection. This is a shorter connection and probably would connect most things in the size of your house. This doesn't necessarily mean you're connected to the internet, but it means you're connected to your Wi-Fi router. This is different than your cell signal. We then have Bluetooth. Your Bluetooth signal is a signal on your phone that's much shorter. It goes maybe about 4 to 6 feet. We use this when you connect to your car, you have earphones, you can do mouses or keyboards connect to your computers. This is all Bluetooth technology. And I put on here as well, it's a good idea to turn this off when you're not using it because it can be a battery drainer. The fourth signal on your phone, which is not on all phones, is called NFC, which is near field communication. This is probably about a 2 to 3 inch signal, and this is what we use for tap and pay, Apple Pay, Android Pay, and this is where you tap your phone on the vendor, and it will charge up your purchase, and that's called NFC. It's not available on all phones, but probably about 80%. So those are the 4 types of cell phone signals, and we're going to be talking about those as we move along today. Now, one of the essentials for travel is Google Maps. Now, many of you use Google Maps. You may even use Google Maps in the car. But one of the important things that you should understand is that it can be used offline. And this is great because you can download maps of any place in the world, and not only will it give you the maps, but you'll get points of interest, hotel reservations, all your POIs, points of interest will be there. So for example, let's say we were going to go to the San Francisco Bay Area. You would take your Google Maps and you would use the offline feature. You would then with your mouse, circle the area that you were going to travel to, and then you would say, save it. We'll call it San Francisco Bay Area, and you can then save it. This then will download this map onto your cell phone. So now, when you travel to the San Francisco Bay Area, you do not need to be connected. You don't need an internet connection. This map and all the points of interest are actually downloaded onto your cell phone. You can do this for London, England. You can do this for Paris. You can do this in Australia. It's an essential part of travel, and it's free. It's all free. So I would encourage you to look at Google Maps offline. Now, as we move on, I want to look at some terminology. I want to talk a little bit about hotspots. I want to talk about Wi-Fi and cellular signals, data plans. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about VPNs because that's a big subject. We're going to talk about SIM cards and roaming. So first of all, what is a hotspot? A hotspot is a device that can connect, that broadcasts a Wi-Fi signal, and you can connect different devices to it. I'll draw your attention to the latest one. This is the one I've just purchased. It's the new Verizon 8800. This is a little device that you can purchase. It's about $200, and it will connect to the Verizon network, and it has the capability of 1 gigabyte of download speed. I'm currently getting around 160 megabyte download and about 30 up on this. This now comes with a truly unlimited data plan. So now I can travel around through the United States and I have access to high-speed data. And this is called a hotspot. Now you can also use your cell phone as a hotspot. We're going to talk about this as you travel around the world. You can actually turn your phone on and use it as a hotspot. Now, this is not available on all phones, and it also is not available on all plans. So it depends on the plan with your carrier, whether you can use your phone as a hotspot. This generally works well. When I use my phone, my Pixel 3 phone as a hotspot, I generally get about 20 megabit download speed on it, which is quite adequate. The only thing that I would caution people is that sometimes we have in Mesa, particularly people coming from the northern states or Canada come down here, they want to leave their phone on as a hotspot for an extended period of time, like over 24 hours. There's been a lot of reports of battery problems leaving your phone on as a hotspot over a long period of time. I think an hour or two is fine, but I wouldn't leave it on for the whole day. But that's using your cell phone as a hotspot. So let's talk about cellular data and Wi-Fi. This is very important for everyone to understand. If you look up here in the corner here, you'll see you have your mobile device, which is your cell phone, and it's connecting to the cell tower. And this cell tower is then connecting to the internet. And this is your cellular data. This is it's the same signal that you're using when you make a phone call on your phone. The important thing to know about the cellular data side of this is that it is secure and it's encrypted. Your phone also has what we call Wi-Fi data. This is a little bit different. This is where you would have the internet, you have a modem, and you have a router. And this broadcasts a Wi-Fi signal that your device would connect to. This is called Wi-Fi, and it's different than cellular data because it's not going through the cell tower. This is less secure, particularly when it's free. If you go to McDonald's, you go to Starbucks, and you have free Wi-Fi, then this is not as secure as cellular data. Now, on your phones, it is very important that you know how to turn this on and off. On every single smartphone, you will have some sort of menu like this. This is just some examples I use where you will be able to turn your cellular data on or off. You'll be able to turn your data roaming on or off. You'll be able to turn your Wi-Fi on or off. And this is important that you know how to do this on your phone. Since every phone is different, I can't really explain it to you, but you should know how to turn this on or off. And the reason for this is that as you travel, and you're traveling in different parts of the world, you may want to do some banking. You may want to move some money around in your account or pay some bills. And in that situation, you want to use your cellular data plan, not Wi-Fi. It's much more secure. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, my favorite CEO is, of course, John Laguerre. He's the CEO of T-Mobile. 4 years ago, John decided to start unlimited data, and he came up, and I think it was in February, he announced that anyone that had a T-Mobile phone had unlimited data. Boom, high-speed unlimited data, all you wanted. This caused a lot of anxiety for Verizon, and after the first month of many people moving from Verizon to T-Mobile, Verizon also started an unlimited data plan. So Verizon and T-Mobile duked it out with truly unlimited data for the first couple of months, and then realized that there had to be some sanity in this. And the next thing that we had is we had data caps, roaming, and tiered connections. Now, what a data cap is how much information you can download in a month, and this varies according to your plan. So all plans have a data cap, so you might be able to, for example, download 4 gigs of data in a month at high speed, 4G LTE, but after that, they're going to throttle you back. And that's also called a tiered connection, where they're going to throttle you back over after a certain amount of data. Also, of course, the concept of roaming is there. If you travel within the United States and you use a Verizon cell towers and you have a Verizon plan, it's not a problem. But when you travel to Europe and you're now using someone else's cell towers, they are going to bill Verizon for that, and that's called a roaming fee, and that often it could be between $8 and $10 a day. So it's very important you understand this, because if you go over to a different part of the world and you just turn your phone on, you could be paying a lot of money in roaming charges. So you need to understand data caps, roaming, and tiered connections. Let's just see here what happened. We don't seem to be able to turn the slide. There we go. Let's see. That's right. Okay. So the next slide I want to talk about are SIM cards. You don't. Probably most of you don't change SIM cards. In the United States, you have large national carriers such as T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T. So you often don't change the SIM cards in your phone, but all phones have SIM cards in them, and the SIM card contains the information for the carrier and your phone number on it. So all phones will have a SIM card, and if you look over to this side here, you will see the 3 sizes of SIM cards you have. You have a mini, a micro, and a nano. Most of them all now are this very small size, and you can actually change the SIM cards in your phone. Now, in this phone down here, I showed you, this is a drawer that will pop out, and you'll see there's 2 SIM cards in here. There will either be a gate on the side like this, or you'll pop the back off your phone to put the SIM card in. Now, normally, you would never do this, because when you buy your phone, particularly if you buy it with a carrier like Verizon, they would have already put the SIM card in, and you'd never see that. And when you went to change your phone in 3 years and you went to Verizon, they would take the SIM card out for you and put it in your new phone, and that way you would just continue on. So, however, when you travel to different parts of the world, you can purchase SIM cards with local phone numbers and service very cheaply. And it may be better for you to do that, and I'm going to give you some examples of that. You can buy these at local shops, and they're often cheaper than at airports. Now, you have to remember, usually when you buy a SIM card in a foreign country, it's only good for that country. If you put a new SIM card in, it's going to change the phone number. Almost all these plans are pay-as-you-go. And remember, when you take your old SIM card out, your Verizon SIM card, you put a local SIM card in, your home number will be inactive while your Verizon card is out. Don't lose your home SIM card. And again, this is common in other countries. So those are the what you might want to do. Now, I don't know why I'm having trouble changing my slides here. Sorry, Dave. Oh, here they come. All right. Now, when you travel, you should always travel with a flashlight. I'm going to talk to you a little bit how you might want to change your SIM card. So I want you to travel with a flashlight. The second thing that's helpful is a magnifying glass, because these SIM cards are very, very tiny. Most of you probably, when you bought your phone, you didn't know what this little device was that was in the box, and you've probably lost this. But this was the little device that you put in a hole. When you push this, the gate pops open, so you can change your SIM card. So you're going to need that. And of course, I always find plastic tweezers are also very helpful. So because these are so small, it's very helpful if someone shines a flashlight on this for you while you change your SIM card. With our aging eyes, the magnifying glass is helpful. You'll need this little tool here and a tweezer. Now, I'm also going to say, when you go to change your SIM card, you open the gate like this, take the new SIM card that you have that you're going to use for your local carrier, and you're going to put it next to it. Because these these only fit in one way, it's handy if you have the new one sitting right next to it. So when you take this one out, it's very easy to see how to put this one in. If you take this out, then go and open the box with the new SIM card, you come back, for sure you'll put it in backwards. So I think those are some tips in putting SIM cards in. So here's the dilemma when you're traveling. You can either use local SIM cards like I just described. You can buy them in the country of origin, or you can buy international phone plans with your cell phone carrier. And we're going to talk about some of those. Or you can use both. And we're going to talk about eSIMs now. In the example I used before, where you had 2 SIM cards in a phone, most of you don't know this, but if your phone has a capability of having 2 SIM cards in, you can actually have 2 carrier accounts in your phone. So for example, let's say you had T-Mobile and you had a Verizon, and you had both SIM cards in your phone because your phone had 2 SIM card slots. Then you can switch between Verizon and T-Mobile through the network settings in your phone. Now, people actually do this quite a bit. Contractors, people who require their phones for work, often will have two services in their phone because it's a mission critical thing, and if they're in an area where Verizon doesn't do too well and T-Mobile has much stronger signal, they'll just switch networks. Now, the only problem is that the only one network can be active at one time. What's happened now with new phones, all the iPhone 10s and better, and the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 3 have what we call eSIMs, which are electronic SIM cards in them. So they're not actually a physical SIM card that you put in. It's an electronic SIM card that's programmable. Why is this important? Well, if you have, let's say, for example, you have an iPhone 10 and you have a T-Mobile account. You then decide that you're going to switch to Verizon. Verizon just announced 3 weeks ago that they will now accept eSIMs. So all you would have to do is download the Verizon app off the Play Store. The Verizon app would find the eSIM in your phone. It would then connect you to the Verizon service and give you a phone number and set up your account. You wouldn't even have to go to the store or put a SIM card in. And that's called an eSIM. And that is available on the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 3 and iPhone 10s and better. Now, it even gets better than that, because now with an eSIM and a physical SIM in there, you actually can have both services active at one time. So you would now be able to have 2 phone numbers running at the same time on that phone, which is a little different with the dual SIMs where you have only one or the other. So you can just think about that and think about some of the advantages that's going to have for you when you travel. Now, when you are putting, if you decide to use a local SIM, it's important that you put your home SIM in a safe place. You don't want to lose that, or you're going to lose your phone number, and it's going to cause you a lot of grief. So on Amazon, you can buy SIM card holders for $4 or $5, or if you want to get the deluxe one, it's $10. Or if you want to do something free, just take a pill bottle and travel with that, and you can put your old SIM card in there. But it's important that you find that when you come back to your country of origin, so you want to put that back in. All right, now for some pictures. This is the Pacific Ocean, and if you look up at the top here, you can see Honolulu and the Hawaiian Islands. Over here is Mexico. And if you look down 2,000 miles south, you'll see 2 little islands here, and the capital is Apia, A-P-I-A. Now, on our cruise, of course, it was 2,000 miles to Vancouver over to Hawaii, and it's about 2,000 miles down to Samoa, which was our next stop. In this 2005 day, it took us 5 days to come down here. We saw no ships, no birds, no wildlife, no anything. It's a very eerie feeling. The Pacific Ocean is very, very big. So by the miracles of navigation, we arrived at these 2 little islands in the South Pacific, and Apia you'll see here, which is the capital, and this is where we docked. If you look, we docked on this pier right along here, and this is a picture of MS Nordam, beautiful ship, and this is us getting off the ship and in Apia. Now, we have traveled 5 days, and about 2,000 miles to get here. We arrived and there was nobody in the city. It was a national holiday. Everything was closed. There was not a soul in the city. And here I was so excited because I'm doing this presentation and I wanted to talk to the cell phone providers. However, I went and took a picture in the window, and this is a company called Digicel, which provides the data plan and the SIM cards. And those are the prices. And if you can, I'm going to do the math for you so you don't have to do it. If you take the Samoan dollar and the US dollar difference and look at the cell phone plans, the plans in Samoa are about half of what you would pay in the United States. So if you thought that you were going to come to these beautiful islands for a month, then I would recommend purchasing a local SIM card from Digicel rather than using a international phone plan, because it's about half the price. Now, this is Australia. We now are in Australia. Coles is the big supermarket there. With great pleasure, my daughter is buying the groceries this time. All those years I bought the groceries, so she's in the grocery store. Now, in the grocery store, these are the SIM cards that you can buy, and you can see that $50 will give you 40 gigabytes of high-speed data. This is about 1/10 the cost of what you would pay in the United States. So it is very cheap to buy high-speed data for your phone in Australia. In the advertising in the newspaper, this was for Kohl's. This was this was a sale they had on, and I point out that you would get 20 gigabytes of data for for normally it was $30, but the sale is $10, and they're going to give you an extra 10 gigabyte bonus. So you're getting 30 gigabytes of high-speed data for $10 Australian, which is about $7.50 US. So it is extremely cheap in Australia to buy wireless data cards. And so my advice to you is, if you're traveling to Australia, for sure pick up a local SIM card and put it in, because it's so cheap. Just a couple of pictures of my grandchildren and my daughter. So hello, grandchildren. All right, let's talk now. When you're traveling, you want to do some banking. You've spent too much money, you have to transfer some money into your Visa account. So the first thing that I would recommend is that you banking on your cell phone is fine, particularly if you use your cellular data. So you want to turn off your Wi-Fi and use your cellular data connection. Your cellular data is encrypted. There's no way anybody's going to see the information. Also, you've probably heard about HTTPS, which is an encrypted signal that your bank uses. So not only is the cellular connection encrypted, but the HTTPS, the website, is encrypted. So this is a highly secure way of doing your banking. You do not need a VPN. This will just slow you down. This is like a double encrypted way of doing things because of the two methods I just mentioned. If you decide to do banking and you don't have a data plan and you want to use public Wi-Fi, this is fine too. Indeed, if you try to log on to your bank, again, you'll be using a very secure website, and it will be secure right from your phone all the way to your bank. We recommend that you use a VPN when you use public Wi-Fi, largely because of man-in-the-middle attack, and they can download key logging programs and bad things onto your phone. So we do recommend a VPN when you are using public Wi-Fi. The last is banking on your home Wi-Fi. You now have come home, you put your feet up, and you're sitting down and you're relaxed, and you want to do some banking, and you're going to do it on your home computer at home. Now, if you are like most people I see, you have an old router. It's 5 years old. You haven't updated the firmware. This is probably the least secure form of banking you can do. The aging router that hasn't been updated is a disaster as far as security. We'll talk about Project Fi in a minute. So now we're going to take off and we're going to look at traveling by land, air, and sea. So it's a great world we have out here. I'm sure some of you have traveled in the desert on your four-wheel drive. I'm not sure who's done the covered wagon thing. Maybe some of you have traveled by camel or donkey, but for sure there's lots of places that we can travel. So the most important thing is, where am I? Your cell phone is going to help you decide where you are. Now, the first thing is, we're going to talk about all cell phones have a GPS feature. Now, if I asked everybody what GPS means, you would say it means Global Positioning Satellite. And that's true, but you're probably thinking about this as a generic name. In fact, GPS, Global Positioning Satellite, is a proprietary name, and it was named by the U.S. military, who put about 30 satellites up many years ago orbiting the Earth, and they provide the GPS signal that comes down, and we use that on our phones. Now, I would draw your attention to the left screen here. China now has launched their own called Compass. Europe has their own called Galileo. India has their own called Arnes, and Japan has theirs. So depending on where you purchase your phone in the world today, it may not always have GPS. It may have another locating system from one of the other countries. What is actually the GPS do? GPS sends a radio signal from the satellites down, and it's actually a time signal. What your GPS feature on your cell phone is actually an atomic clock. And if I stand here in my house and then I go down the street and stand there, the difference between those two locations is in time, and the atomic clock figures this out and creates a latitude and longitude, two numbers that are important. This is what TomTom, Garmin, and Google Maps use to identify your location. So this is called the GPS feature, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. The second way that we know where you are is by tower triangulation. If you're in an urban area such as Phoenix, your cell phone is constantly logging on to different cell towers, and it's picking the best cell tower for you. So you may always be logged on to 8 or 9 cell towers. So when you need to find out where you are, we can use a system of triangulation to find out your location. The last part you don't probably hear much about, but you know the little Google van that drives around taking pictures of the streets so that Google Maps can have street view. You've probably seen this in your neighborhood, and it drives around and takes pictures of your house. Well, what it's also taking pictures of, or it's also recording, is your wireless access points on your street. So the names of all your routers as you go along the street, it's recording those names. Those by and large don't change very much, and it's a way that Google can locate you by your wireless connection, and it sells that data and uses that to for commercial purposes. We don't use that personally a lot. Now, SpaceX just launched in December of last year the new GPS satellites for the U.S. military, and so the old satellites are all being replaced now by a new series. So this is an important picture, and I'm going to talk a bit about this. I want to envision two things today. There's a big mountain range called the Superstition Mountains that are just about a mile from my house here. Also, Flagstaff north of here has had a lot of snow. I want to envision that you're either in the Superstition Mountains and you fall off the mountain and you are seriously injured. Or you might be up in Flagstaff, your car has gone off the road and you are seriously injured with your car upside down. So the question is how do you know where you are? In both those cases, maybe you're lucky enough that you can grab your cell phone and you can dial 911. Now, I have a friend, Greg, in this park the resort that I live here with. Greg used to be a fire chief out in California, and we do presentations together. So I went to Greg's house a couple of weeks ago, and I said to Greg, if you fell off the Superstition Mountains like we talked about, what would you do, particularly if you had the ability to phone 911? And he said to me, Ron, I said, I would bring up Google Maps. I would hold my finger and long press over the dot, and it would give me my latitude and longitude, and I would relay that to the 911 operator. I said, Greg, that sounds great. And he said, if I had an iPhone, I would use a little software program on there called Compass. I said, very good, Greg. I said, let's see how you do it. So he went and got his cell phone, turned it on, and after about 5 minutes, he couldn't find Google Maps. He said, Ron, I'm not very good at this, actually. Could you sort of find Google Maps for me? And I said, no, you're dying. I said, you fell off the mountain. You know, you're in shock. Your leg's broken. You got to do this. And so he finally, after about 10 minutes, he found Google Maps and he was able to bring it up. Now, as he was bringing Google Maps up, I took off his glasses. He said, what are you doing? I said, well, look, if you fall down the mountain, it's very unlikely you're going to have your glasses on. He says, I can't see without my glasses. Well, I said, this isn't going to do you any good. So, folks, what I'm trying to get at here is I want you to download an app called My GPS Coordinates. It's available. It's free. You can download this, and it's available as iOS, as an Apple app, or as an Android app. I want you to download it and install it on your phone. It's free. And I want you to put it on the front page here. I want your home screen here, right above these bottom icons. And you'll see this is my phone and this is my GPS coordinate. When you push this button, it will bring up this screen here, which is a huge, big screen on your phone. And in both those scenarios I listed, I want you to, when you phone 911, you say help, and you say 333 dot, and this is your location. You're going to give them the latitude and the longitude. That's the first thing out of your mind, out of your mouth. Because if you go into shock and you can't remember, or your phone stops, these are all recorded and they'll know your exact position. All right. This is so important. Do not rely on Google Maps. You won't find it if the printing's too small. Just click on My GPS Coordinate and it will bring this up, and you'll be able to give that information to the 911 operator, because you have to assume they do not know where you are. I put this up for reference. This is a two-way satellite messaging system as you travel around the world, called SpotX. This is actually, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, but it's the unit's about $250 to buy, and then you can do two-way satellite messaging pretty much around the world. This is a really cool little feature. All right. As we move on, I want to talk about international travel data plans. And there's three we're going to talk about. I want to talk about Google's Fi. I want to talk about Verizon and T-Mobile. If you talk to international travelers and people who travel around the world, Google's cell phone service, or Google Fi, is probably one of the best. It provides seamless travel to 180 countries. You don't need a SIM card. There's no roaming fees. And probably as far as data goes, you'll get the most data and the highest speed using Google's service. A close second is T-Mobile. T-Mobile has excellent travel. Particularly if you're over 55 and you get their unlimited, you get a pretty good amount of data, and it's good in about 210 countries where you can just travel around, and that's all included in your plan. So T-Mobile is a close second. And Verizon takes things a little bit differently and uses day passes. Day passes are okay if you're going for 2 or 3 weeks, but if you're doing extending travel, it can be a bit expensive. Air travel, staying connected while you travel on an airplane, sort of interesting. Most airplanes now, when you get on them and you travel, you're going for extended periods of time in the air. I know the dreaded trip when we fly from Sydney, Australia, back to Vancouver is 14 hours in the air. Oh my gosh. But you know, you can have Wi-Fi on board. This is an airplane at the airport where I work at. I do some volunteering. What happened? Dave, are we okay? This is the this is the airplane, and this is
Yeah,
the
you're okay. You just hit your Facebook instead of and moved over. You're fine.
okay, great. So this is this is an airplane, and there's actually different communication systems in it. When they turn the engines on in this plane, it goes right to a communication center, and the maintenance. So there's constant data being sent from the engines, fuel management system, and you'll see the Wi-Fi system, little thing on the top here, area antenna, and so you'll have Wi-Fi. Check if you want in-flight Wi-Fi. Check your cell provider. T-Mobile offers 1 hour free for your for in-flight, and pay for your Wi-Fi before you fly. Often frequent flyer subscription plans have Wi-Fi benefits as well as credit cards. So have a look at that if you want to enjoy Wi-Fi on board an airplane. Just look before you go. Now, travel by sea. If I said to everybody, this is my ship in the middle of the ocean, how am I going to get Wi-Fi? How am I going to get internet? And you're going to all say, "Oh, Ron, come on, don't be silly. Ships in the middle of the ocean get internet from satellite systems." And this is the satellite systems that was on MS Nordam on the left here. You're going to say, "Well, we know that." But actually, in fact, if you track all the websites, all the ships, cruise ships around the world, they in fact don't travel in the middle of the ocean. Most of the cruise ships travel, they stay very close to land, like on the west coast here when they're going up to Alaska, down in the Caribbean, or over in the Mediterranean. Most cruise ships stay very close to land. Most cruises are 7 to 10 days, and they go into frequent ports. Also, cruise ships' bandwidth that they need for internet is increasing at about 25% a year. So I guess poor MS Nordam, which is probably the one I'm on, we're one of the few ships that actually do go down the Pacific in the middle of the ocean. But most cruise ships don't. They stay close to land. The other thing you'll notice that when you start to go on a cruise now, you choose your cruise often because of where you want to go. Yeah, you choose it for good food. You choose it on recommendations that other people have and they had a great time. But more and more, staying connected and the internet access on a cruise ship is becoming a huge marketing feature. People want to stay connected. They want high-speed internet. Now, if you look at this picture here, you will see these little dots around here, and this is called terrestrial broadband. These are large high frequency antennas that are located in certain areas of Canada, United States, and in Europe, and this provides terrestrial broadband to these cruise ships. So, well, you think most of the time when the cruise ship is traveling around, it's getting its internet signal from the satellite. It's not. Most of the time they're getting it from the terrestrial broadband sites. And the reason for this is what we call latency. If you take satellite communication, if you want to look at a website, you have to travel, it has to go from the ship, it has to travel up to the satellite then has to go down to however it's connected to the internet, and then it has to come, the reciprocal route. And this creates latency. But if you have a terrestrial broadband system, then there is less latency. So most of the ships use this terrestrial broadband to receive their internet signal rather than satellite. Now, just to remind everyone, always take your smartphone when you go to sea. I know that I know a lot of you say, I don't want to do any work, I don't want to be called, why should I take my smartphone? Well, these ships now are huge. Some of them have 5,000 or 6,000 people on them. And when you get on the ship, you'll connect to their intranet system. And this is what it was on MS Nordam. They had a navigator system. I could tell with my cell phone what was happening on board. I could book tours. I can book dining experiences. I can check my account and see how much money my wife was spending. I can look at my itinerary. All these ships happening occurred through my phone through the ship's intranet. So do take your phone. Now, the thing that's changing now is the new OB3 satellites that companies SES is placing up there. And this is very interesting, and Carnival Cruises is very, very active involved in this. And it's a little bit different. This new system is going to have the capacity of 10 terabytes of data with 3,000 spot beams. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. If you remember the picture I had of the MS Nordum, our cruise ship, going down, the Hughes satellite probably they were using would broadcast all over the southern hemisphere into the Pacific Ocean. As the ship sails along, it would aim its antenna back up at the satellite and try to get the best picture. What this system is going to do, when the last of the satellites were finished in December of last year, there's going to be orbiting satellites, and they're going to have a spot beam that will focus on the device, and let's say it's the ship, and what it will do is it will follow the ship as it travels. So they'll have 30,000 accounts, so they could do 30,000 ships, I guess, and each ship will have its own spot beam, and it will follow that ship as it tracks along. And this will be able to give a very focused, fast connection of internet to the ships. 70% of the world is water, and a lot of people work on the water, not only cruise ships, but their commercial ships, military. Everybody wants fast internet, and this is the new generation of high-speed internet that we'll be having on surface vessels. All right, I guess that's it. How are we doing? We got some time for questions. My email is on there, and if anybody wants to follow up with me, I'm more than happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, we got one question, and then I'll leave the chat open for a couple minutes before we go to the other track. Marilyn wants to know, will that GPS app work outside the USA?
My GPS location, the one that I showed you?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it works. You can be on the North Pole, South Pole. You could be anywhere in the world. It works. It just yeah. I mean, the GPS chip in your phone will give you your latitude and longitude no matter where you are in the world.
Okay. Well, that was the only question I have, and I want to thank you very much, Ron, for taking the time out. It was a very interesting presentation, and let people know that the slideshow should be available shortly on the internet, and is going to be the program. As I said, the video will be up in a couple weeks as soon as we do that. Can you list that for us? Oh, as I said, he wants to see your hotspot. Can you list that for us?
Sorry, what was the question?
I'm not really sure, Bob, what it meant was, he said your hotspot. Can you list that for us?
List the hotspot. It's the 88. It's the Verizon 8800L. Is the name of the hotspot. It's available at any Verizon store.
Yeah, I'm picking up mine this afternoon. It's $99 under contract, or $200 without.
Yeah, you can buy it. I purchased it. I purchased mine, and it was $200. Probably under contract, they'd give you a better deal. Or if you're a Verizon customer, that's fine. One of the big advantages is they brought out the prepaid unlimited plan, which is great. For $65 a month, I have unlimited data. That we've had lots of people that have downloaded up to 20 and 30 gigabytes of data in a month, and there is no throttling on it, and it's a prepaid plan. And so it's great. You just pay each month as you use it, and then when you don't, you just stop.